Hello all, and welcome to this daytime beer review. It's almost, well, it's a little bit past noon. It's about 1:30. And I know I said I was going to be doing a special request review, but there's some things I need to do, so and plus, there's some other beers I need to get out of the way. So I'm kind of going through a bunch of local beers right now, and when I get to reviewing some of the Voodoo IPA from New Belgium, I'll get to it. But today we're actually reviewing Honolulu Beerworks Greenstone New Zealand Style IPA. So this is a seasonal release. Let's read the label, shall we? This copper-colored IPA is brewed with 100% New Zealand hops. Pacific Jade and Rakau give this IPA a floral nose with hints of apricot and stone fruit. So I actually really enjoyed this one. 6.2 ABV, so almost sessionable, almost. And let's get this open. Right now I'm dubbing this laundry review, by the way, because I actually have laundry going right now. So I want to get it done before the dryer gets done in 25 minutes, so yeah. Drinking beer and folding laundry, yeah. It kind of goes to show you what these reviews have kind of become. They've become like a little bit of... They're still joyful, but there's also a little bit of work involved to it. So it's like, okay, I gotta go and sneak it in. Okay, so a little bit overpoured, 2 fingers worth ahead. It's a nice golden color with perhaps some hints of amber to it, but otherwise mostly golden. Opalescent, so a little bit cloudy, with a thick, fluffy white head. Nicely floral. Some hints of dank there. Relatively free of citrus fruit. And relatively free of citrus fruit and resin notes, pine resin notes in the nose. A hint of a sweet malt base there in the bottom. Almost caramel, very honey biscuity. Okay. Nicely refreshing on the palate. A sort of zest bitterness, but not citric zest. This is really defined by its lack of citric flavor notes to it. And in the mid to finish, a lot of white wine sort of notes come in that mid to finish. That's very interesting, and also something I find very distinctive of New Zealand style hops. What kind of white wine? If I had to go and make a call on it, probably Sauvignon Blanc. But it's been a while, so I might be wrong on that. The malt base is there, and it tastes sweetness, but it's just like a whisper because it is just perfectly balanced. with alpha oil. So sort of a nice tannic bitterness to the finish. Not overwhelming. The front is barely muted, so none is booming. It sort of takes a while to expand in the mid to finish. So this is a slow riser, but it definitely has a lot of interesting notes there. Definitely floral for the more effervescent notes. And I just like how those sweet malts appear there, but are just balanced, so they don't actually taste all that sweet. You kind of have that sort of biscuit essence that is balanced with that hot bitterness. Slowly transitions in the front and mids, during the mids, from the front to the mids and into the finish, from that malt notes to the more hoppy notes. Not the really base palate notes, but the more higher notes there, but not all the way up to the effervescent notes, the ones that are really sensed up here. As it warms up, that what it said on the label there, apricot is starting to show up a bit more. That sweetness is taking a sort of defined note with that stone fruit. So, yeah. Really interesting how the taste kind of transitions there, as well as it being very clearly an IPA, but one of those IPAs that are not really juicy in the sense of, how big haze thing is now, or really juicy IPAs. The only fruit essence is more of stone fruit, not really any pine notes, other than perhaps hinted by the bitterness. And I have to say that this particular beer is a very interesting one to go and drink, as I find most New Zealand style IPAs pretty interesting. Those Southern Hemisphere hops definitely have a very different take on them. And I'd recommend this to anyone who wants to go and try something that is an interesting, somewhat complex, and very demonstrative example of the New Zealand style IPA. Well, folks, that's your beer review for today. Honolulu Beerworks Greenstone New Zealand style IPA. And kia ora. I think that's a cheers one. That's all. See ya.